Hello everyone, welcome along to a weekend preview today. Looking ahead to the fantastic racing over the weekend. We've got the likes of Sandown Park and the Tingle Creek. We've got the Many Clouds and the Beach Chasers at Aintree over the weekend. And of course the Welsh National Trial itself over at Chepstow. But kicking things off here, we're going to look ahead to the Beach Chase over the Grand National course, over the big fence as well. It's always a fantastic race to watch. Often earmarked as a trial for the Grand National itself without being an actual winning your in race, which I think there should be really. I think this, the National Trial at Haydock, and the big one at Chepstow, the Welsh National, should be three races really. If you win, you get a guaranteed run at Aintree in the spring. But unfortunately, that doesn't seem to be the case between now and in the future. Looking at the race itself here, I'm going to kick things off with an intriguing runner here, Lebroy. He ran a great race in the race last year, finished third. It was his first attempt at the national course itself, and he jumped really well. I felt he was very impressive in my opinion. Took the third last home with him. But other than that, I felt like he passed the first test to run in the Grand National. But his problem is he's not won a race for 2 years, and his handicap mark needs to go up to even get into the Grand National. He's a horse who stays very well, a former Cheltenham Festival winner in his time. Perhaps spat the dummy out last time out at Fontwell in the Southern National, which was a big shame really, because on his ability really alone, he could have won that pretty comfortably. But he's not done enough real winning in the last couple of years to even show that he's going to get into a Grand National. I think his current mark's 136 at the moment, which is nowhere near enough to get into a Grand National. It actually is, yeah. He's officially rated 136, which is nowhere near enough to get into a Grand National. If he wants to get into the Grand National, which has been the aim for him for the last couple of years, he needs to win this sort of race really. And if he doesn't win this race, I already think the Ida could be right up his street at Newcastle. He's ran well in the Classic Chase before as well at Warwick, but I personally think he just needs to win a race basically of this calibre. I'd love to see him win it. I think he's a horse who performed well last year over this course and distance. He takes the fences too, which has always been a good sign for him. He seemed to enjoy the challenge. He didn't quite enjoy the cross country at Cheltenham though, but he enjoyed this. And I think if he can take this again, he could still be there at the Melling Road. Danny McMenamin takes a ride here. Champion Conditional last season's a great booking in my opinion. He's got round a couple of times over this course before with Calypso Collonge. He ran a big race in the race last year too. Look, it's difficult to see really if the fire still burns with Lebroy really, but this will be the acid test for him on Saturday. And I think he'll probably go off a nice price for this. I'd just like to see him run well, show that there's some sort of enthusiasm there. Mac Totty perhaps will go a favourite for this. A Grand Sefton with the last time out. I was very impressed with him last time. Took the fences really well. And the change of sort of scenery at Aintree really seemed to give him a bit more life. He jumped brilliantly, travelled really well, and stuck on quite doggedly as well, which to me earmarks that this step up in trip will be no problem at all here. Peter Bowen's had some great horses over the years run these sort of races before. Always Waning was a legend really, he spoke for himself. Multiple winner of the Topham, even got round in the 2013 Grand National too, which was a fantastic achievement for him. McKelvey came second in the National as well in 2008, I think it was. He swooped quite late, but just didn't quite collar Comply or Die, which is quite unfortunate and quite unlucky as well. But I really hope that McTotty can emerge as a Grand National contender here. He's got all the right attributes, I think. He's not the biggest of horses, but he took to the fences really well. And I think he could be a live contender here to win this. We've got some past winners of this race before. Vieux en Rouge, an absolute legend around Aintree before. Won the race last year very impressively. Fell in the Grand National, actually, which put an end to his sparkling record of jumping over, I think it was 200 fences around the Aintree course without falling, which was a big shame. He seems to save his best for this time of year in particular. Perhaps the national trip itself just stretches all of his stamina, really, the 4 mile plus trip, but he's much more effective over the just over 3 mile trip here at this time of year. Tom Skidmore's back in the saddle this time around, replacing Conor O'Farrell, who won the race last year aboard him. Look, it'll be difficult to see him winning this time around. He had a good pipe opener, I think it was at Chepstow last time out, his first run of the season, with this in mind, of course. Mighty Thunder is a very intriguing horse as well. He is a Scottish National winner. For that fantastic combination who was seen to good effect last weekend of Derek Fox and Lucinda Russell, who've got the very exciting Ahoy Senor to look forward to for the rest of the season. I think he's a fantastic horse and looks to be a very live contender for the Gold Cup. Perhaps not this year. Could do a Coney Green win as a novice this year. I don't think he will, though. I think they might wait till next year. Although the way in which he ran and won last time out suggests that he could easily go into a Gold Cup picture and be effective. Although his jumping's going to have to improve slightly, though, to be serious in the Gold Cup. I think he could be an intriguing horse here, Mighty Thunder. He's a lot of people's early pick for a Grand National, so this will be a very sort of early test, see how he performs here. He stays very well, as you'd expect, to win the Scottish National, and to win round there, you have to jump quite well too, because it's quite a sharp track, the fences come thick and fast. Derek Fox on board here. I think he could have a good chance, possibly, but it would be more of a watching brief for me this time around, so just to see how he gets on, and see how he performs around Aintree. Kimberlite Candy, a past winner of this race before as well, pulled up in the National itself in April, similar to Lord de Manil as well, who pulled up in the National in April as well. Perhaps it happened a bit too quick for them in April. In the spring last time out, the ground was perhaps a bit too quick for them both, alongside the likes of Potts Corner and Bristol de May as well. It's happened a bit too quick for all four of them, really. They got taken off their feet quite early on, couldn't get into any sort of rhythm, really, and pulled up. Top Valben's intriguing in this as well, his first crack at the National. He's always been one who's been earmarked to run well in the Grand National before. He's been entered a couple of times before, just hasn't got there, unfortunately. But if he can get a nice lead and get into a nice rhythm and actually enjoy himself, he could be a very intriguing contender here. But the horse I'm going to stick with here is a Chile at an each-way price here. As I mentioned before, if Charlie Deutsch can just creep around here, go about his business quite quietly for the first half mile or so, he might have a chance of collecting a nice each-way honour here. Moving on to the actual race before that, the Many Clouds Chase at 2:05. It's an intriguing renewal this time around. Native River comes back. There's a 12-year-old. He's many people's favourite horse. I've been a grand old servant for the Tizards, a Gold Cup winner, a Denman Chase winner. It's a horse who just tries his best. And to me, really, I've always felt he'd have been a fantastic Grand National horse himself, really. But that boat seemed to have sailed now. I think if he was going to run in the Grand National itself, it should have happened a couple of seasons ago, perhaps even last year. Mainly possibly the year before, in my opinion, though, which is quite unfortunate. John Joe O'Neill takes the ride here, John Joe O'Neill Jr. Protectorat will go off favourite for this. He was a fast finishing second last time in the Paddy Power, in behind Midnight Shadow. Midnight Shadow himself looks to be on course for the King George, which just goes to show how highly Sue Smith and the team at home rate him. He was probably out on his feet, though, and he was perhaps slightly fortunate the line came in time for him, really. Protectorat here has won at Aintree before, goes up to 3 miles this time around. If I was John Joe O'Neill Jr., I'd like to see him bounce out on Native River here and make it a good stamina test. Really try and take some of these out of their comfort zone. Imperial Aura, he fell in the Betfair Chase last time. That race effectively fell apart, really, when he came down. Absolutard, by far and away the best horse on the day. Fantastic horse. Will most likely go to the Gold Cup again this time around in March. But Imperial Aura looked to be a very impressive novice, but it just seemed to have gone a bit backwards for him ever since he won at Cheltenham, when he bounded up the Cheltenham Hill. And there were some nice horses that day in behind. Tiger Roll comes into this, the famous Tiger Roll, back at Aintree again, back at the place of his most brilliant triumphs, 2 Grand Nationals. He's back over the Mildmay course this time around, not running in the Becher Chase. James Bone takes the ride this time around. I'm intrigued to see how he gets on here and whether or not this could be a little sort of pipe opener for the Grand National itself, with the whole lane of trying to lower his handicap mark to try and get a much more fairer racing weight that O'Leary's felt they should have had last year when they pulled him out and instead ran him in the Betway Bowl, which divided opinion by some people because he was beaten he was beaten a fair way in the end, really. Wishing and hoping won, a Veterans Chase here last time out, very impressively, stuck on quite well. This might be a step too far for him, but the way in which he won last time suggests you have to give it a go. The Two Amigos is usually seen to affect very impressively, and has actually been a very good mainstay in the Welsh National itself. But unfortunately, he will not be running in the Welsh National this time around because his trainer forgot to enter him. She missed the 1 o'clock deadline, unfortunately, and he won't be running in the Welsh National this time around. He was entered in the trial at Cheps, though, but they've opted to come here instead. But I just think the trip might be a bit too sharp for him. He's been seen to good effect before at Haydock in the Grand National trial itself, and as we mentioned before, at Chepstow over Christmas, when he's been placed in a couple of Welsh Nationals too. But unfortunately, it's a big disappointment that he won't be running there. My pick for this race would be Native River. I love seeing him win this. I just think it could be tailor-made for him. If he can get a nice lead, although Simply the Bets will probably hassle him for the lead. But if he can get into a nice rhythm and John Joe can just get him jumping and get him travelling, I really think he could take a couple of these out of their comfort zone quite early. And with the way Imperial Aura's jumping's been over the last couple of attempts, I'd be keen to swerve him really at the moment as a watching brief, really. And I'll stick with Native River here to win this. Roll back the years and really give some people a fantastic sort of moment who will be there at Aintree on Saturday. Looking ahead to Sandown as well, we've got some fantastic racing there, being the Tingle Creek, of course, taking centre stage there over the weekend. We're going to kick things off, and actually talk about Tingle Creek itself. It's a 5-horse race, unfortunately, with no Shishkin, which is a terrible shame, really, because I really think Shishkin would have added some real good flavour to this race, but unfortunately he won't be there. Nicky wasn't very happy with the way he galloped last week, and unfortunately he's now been pulled out. I can imagine he'll go to a Desert Orchid Chase at Kempton over Christmas, which is a big shame, really, because I personally think that he would have benefited a lot more from taking on Chac and Poursoir and Nube Negre here than going into a Grade 2 at Kempton against probably 2 other horses having a school around and not learning anything, really. But I'm not a trainer, so best I keep my mouth shut, really. But Looking at the market itself, Track and Poursoir's 11 to 10 favourite here. Nuba Negra second favourite. Grenadine's third favourite, and you've got Captain Guinness and Hitman's the outsider. Oh, sorry, Captain Guinness is the outsider of the set here. Track and Poursoir's a fantastic horse. Perhaps didn't quite get home at Cheltenham in the Champion Chase when he came there on the bridle at the second last. Looked as though he was going to win it, but he emptied up the hill. I think he should win this, really. He's a fantastic chaser. He's got a brilliant engine, jumps really, really well. And it's just a terrible shame we won't see him against Shishkin before Christmas. I really think that would have been a terrific match, really. You look at Tingle Creeks in the past, Moscow Flyer beating Azertiop and Well Chief. Three terrific horses who were not scared to take each other on and had very ambitious owners who were not scared to risk the horse's reputation at all. And it's just such a terrible shame, really, that we're not going to see it. Nuba Negra's a very smart horse. He's really come into his own the last couple of years. If you had told me when I was at Warwick, when he got beaten the Kingmaker a couple of years ago, that he would turn out to be a nice horse, I would have been surprised, really. I didn't really think he was a horse who was going to turn out to be anything sort of decent as a novice, but he's really come into his own over Christmas last year, when he won the Desert Orchid last year, beating Altior on his comeback appearance. He's built on that as well. He was very good at Cheltenham last time out, when he beat a very subpar, put the kettle on, but take nothing away from Nuba Negra. Jumped, travelled smoothly, and won very nicely as well. Grenadine's an intriguing horse here. Bryony Frost again takes the ride here. Paul Nicholls trained. He's a horse who's been seen to good effect before here, and could be a very intriguing horse here if Track and Poursoir doesn't turn out to be at his best, really. If he's not firing on all cylinders, then I wouldn't rule out Grenadine to pick up the pieces here. But I'm going to be a bit boring here, and I'm going to say Track and Poursoir wins this quite well. He's a horse who's probably by far and away head and shoulders above these. And if he turns up in any sort of form here that we've seen to a good effect before, like we saw at Punchestown a couple of years ago, then he should really win this quite comfortably, really. We're going to talk about next the London National as well. This is always an intriguing race here. It's a nice race here, a competitive race just over a long distance at Sandown, a proper stamina sapping test here. Strictly Dancer will go our favourite for this. He's been in fantastic form over the last couple of starts. 2 wins at Cheltenham, a win at Haydock last time out in what was perhaps a weak race, but he still had to do it quite well. Looks to be a very popular bet for many people here, with Jack Tudor taking £3 off his back again here. Looking to try and capitalise while they can with him, trying to complete a 4-timer. He's really improved massively over the last couple of starts. He was a horse who perhaps lost his way a couple of starts ago, but he's really turned it around. 2 wins in amateur company at Cheltenham before stepping up to, as we said before, at Haydock and winning quite impressively here. Salty Boy was a Southern National in the last time out, and he's my pick to win this, Salty Boy here. I like the way in which he finished his race off at Fontwell last time. To finish, to win a Southern National at Fontwell, you've got to be a good horse. You've got to stay well. It's been a good race to win in the past, with Cloudy Glen winning that first time out last year, before going on to win the Hennessy last weekend, which just shows how good of a race it is. Mitch Bastian's been flying along this season to go alongside the resurgent form of Milton Harris, and I just think if Salty Boy can just drop in again like he did last time out, he stays very well. He dropped in last time, got into a nice rhythm, picked him off and won going away in the end, which was very impressive. Larry as well won at Ascot last time out. Also got a former Grimthorpe Chase winner here in Red Infantry. Christmas and April's won a Sussex National in the past too. The Mighty Don, I'm intrigued to see him running at Sandown here. He's a fantastic horse, a horse who I've always liked, but his problem is his jumping lets him down. If you're back in the Mighty Don, you be prepared for at least a couple of errors along the way. He's a horse who stuck on very well last time at Cheltenham and behind Jarl Renke, but his jumping let him down. He almost unseated Noel Houlihan at the water jump last time as well. And as I said before, he stays very well. He's more than capable of winning a race like this, but unfortunately for him, his jumping will probably let him down at some point. And with the way that the fences come quickly as well, especially those 3 down the back, the railway fences, they'll probably catch him out at least once. And I just don't think his jumping will hold up here to win a race of this calibre. I think he'll stay on towards the end, don't get me wrong. I think he'll still be in there at the end, but his jumping, as I said before, will be the factor in him determining whether he wins or loses this race. And I just don't think his jumping can hold up at Sandown. So I'm going to stick with Salty Boy here. I think he'll probably go off price at the moment, a nice price at the moment. He's quite a big price at the moment in behind some of these other horses here, and I think perhaps a bit more value compared to some of the others here. He could be a horse who a young progressive staying chaser on the up here. So there we go, have it, guys. There's my weekend preview. If you enjoy it, do let me know. Hit the like button as well. Subscribe to the channel too for more of this, and we'll see you soon.